Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is a news check. On today we're still discussing the issue of the alarming rates of femicide cases, and on the second hour we'll be talking about some of the measures that have been taken by the government, and if these representatives from the key sectors, especially from security firms as well as from the Airbnb, and finally we'll be having our psychological analyst for us this particular morning on this particular conversation. But before we go on with our conversation, I would like to take you live to the coastal city in the coastal town where prosecution of cases of the Shakahola massacre cases are ongoing, where all 95 suspects are currently appearing before the Mombasa law courts, and of course they will be charged with 238 counts of manslaughter, contrary to section 202 as read with section 205 of the Constitution. But this morning we are discussing the increase of femicide cases into the country. In the first hour we were at least graced by Ngek Fida Usikimie and Senator Tabitha Mutinda on this particular matter to get to the bottom in terms of the root causes and what are the likelihood outcomes in terms of that. But also in the second hour, given that the government issued various directives to the various private security firms as well as to Airbnb representatives across the country, we're here to understand if they have implemented those measures and what other measures are they taking to ensure that this particular case is at least curbed. And of course we also do have a senior lecturer from Kenyatta University. Let me get to introduce them now. We do have Jules Delahaj, the CEO of SGA Security. Mr. Jules, hopefully I've said that correctly.
Almost. Dulahe, but it's fine.
Okay, welcome and thank you for making time for us this morning. And of course, the lovely lady at the middle is Amanda Kimani, the Chief Executive Officer, the Lux Living. And finally, we do have Dr. Benjamin Koskei, a Senior Lecturer at the Kenyatta University. Daktari, thank you for making time for us. And I would like to start with you, Daktari, as my director prepares a footage for us in terms of course, it has elicited a mixed reaction, not just from the civil society, government and non-governmental institution, but also from the men and women in cloth have also castigated this particular issue. Let me start with you, Daktari. We have been witnessing especially these issues close to institutions such as the Jomo Kenyatta University, but yes, we have witnessed that has been happening. As an institution, have you put at least mechanisms before we get to the psychological part of it?
Thank you, Abdi Aziz, for the invite talk about this menace.
Yes.
You have asked a very good question. And before I answer that,
okay, I
want to pass a condolence to the family of Bridget Amondi,
yes,
who was killed yesterday, yes, in Kisumu. She was a teacher in Obolo Secondary School, and she was killed by her husband. So what we are discussing today is real issue and real time. To answer your question, as the universities or as the University of Kenyatta, we have put in place a mechanism on how to deal with this. Number one is guidance and counseling. We have a directorate of wellness in place to deal with issues of gender-based violence. And we have a fully fledged directorate to deal with that. This directorate deals with various issues in guiding and counseling of these students, in actually monitoring their progress, in knowing and even receiving reports from various schools and various students. Again, we have partnered with the student council. We have peer counselors in school. So we have done some work in terms of seeing that we work on the gender-based violence.
Yes.
Thank you, Abdul.
Okay, and let me head over now to Amanda. Amanda, as you respond to these unfortunate incidences that we have been witnessing in the country, this is not the first time. Institutions such as yourself that you're leading an Airbnb unfortunately has been caught in crosshairs when it comes to these particular incidences, and the government has issued various directives like putting in CCTVs in the correct areas. Have you started by abiding with those measures, and what other measures perhaps have you undertaken?
Okay, thank you so much for welcoming me here today. And I'll say sorry to all the families that have been caught up in this menace. First of all, yes, we are adhering to what the government has put across. And we're also hoping for the government also to welcome us so that we can also share the ways that we feel it's secure for our clients and it's secure for everyone who is going to be using our Airbnb. We wish to have those kind of conversations. We have started looking at conversations with the Peer Accommodation Society of Kenya. There is one more, VACEC, and we are all coming together to also find a directive where, as hosts, we make sure that our clients feel safe around our homes. It's something that it's not complete. We are also caught up in this, and we are trying to find best ways that we can actually cure this. It may not be 100%, but in progress. Yes.
Now, Mr. Jules, similar question. Given that you're in the security sector, you have been there for a number of years. Are you abiding by the measures that have been recently released by the government? And what are your thoughts on this ongoing incidences that we have been witnessing in the country for the better part of this month?
Yes, for sure. And let me also send my condolences to all the victims, families, and parties, relatives, friends, etc. It's very sad, and particularly I would like to stress that no victim deserves to die. You know, that should be very clear. And I would like to stand up, given what was said in the earlier setting. Men should stand up and not just shy away from the discussion. And I think one of the reasons why I'm here, because it is a much bigger problem. It's not only related to Airbnb, and I think we should look at it in a broader perspective and not try not to generalize too much. The way we see it, and I don't want to go into details of each of the cases because there are differences, etc. But there seems to be a pattern. One is a pattern is actually two major categories. The crimes that are, let's say, dealt with in either the home area or people that know each other. So that's one category. And there is a category where people don't know each other. And I think it's good to understand this because talking about the measurements that you were referring to, PSRA, the regulator, has issued quite clear rules, and we are actually doing much more than those rules only. It's not only about CCTV cameras, you can do the access controls, but I would like to zoom in a bit in those categories. If you are in a home environment, then of course it's very difficult to enforce IDs, CCTV cameras, etc. That's quite obvious, and I think there it's very important to create that awareness. You know, the neighbors, your environment. If you are alert and you are working on that, if you notice there is something ongoing, please raise the flag. Don't shy away. Address these things. Deal with those things. If you go to the, let's say, other category, where quite often those are criminals, but if you look at the nature of the killings, we can quite generally say and state that either the people have a problem, mind sick, or the circumstances have run them into a situation where they don't know what they're doing anymore. But if you look at it and you zoom in, yes, there are rules, and these rules exist already. If you engage, for instance, with a private security company, then that company has to be licensed and it needs to meet certain standards. So that's one of the things that I would definitely want everybody to look at. Another thing is, so that aspects of, and there is quite a big variety of security and security, so really make that distinction. Another part that I would like to stress is particular in those settings, those are criminals, quite well organized. They, besides the fact that they're after the money, the killings, and there is particular to women, I think, because they feel is vulnerable and maybe easy targets. So there's much more than only this aspect. And I would say another aspect that, apart from all the security measurements that everybody should take into account, also be alert. If you are the woman or even another person, be alert in your environment. One critical part that I noticed throughout quite is the use of alcohol and drugs. You can put all the measurements into account, but if you're drugged or if you have used too much alcohol, you're not aware anymore on your environment. Okay. And I think those are things you should be alert. So never, if you don't know a person and you are drinking something, never shy away from your glass. Okay. Make sure you, as much as you can, that you are not drugged or that you don't use too much alcohol, because that is a critical aspect, I think, to start with.
And as we continue with our conversation, I would like to play you a sound clip where the men of cloth and women in cloth as well condemned these particular incidences that have been witnessed in the country, not just the two young ladies, but there are other unreported cases. Let's get to hear from Jackson Olesepit and many other religious leaders in the country.
We call for tough measures that they will never return to society. We call for life imprisonment and any other tough measure, so that these people are never let out to mingle with our children.
Mtu anachukua msichana yenyewe kwa hizo vyumba na kumuua, hiyo inaitwa premeditated murder. Hiyo mtu should be charged with first degree murder.
We also call him making an appeal to our government that yes, we know you are taking care of us, but we need to increase, and we appreciate even the guidelines that have been put to these lodgings and the other places like Airbnb. Let us also are landlords of these places, because people will still visit.
And let me go to Amanda now. Given that you've even heard from the men of cloth talking about Airbnb, just brief us as Kenyans. We want to know how Airbnb works. And of course, you've just heard from Jules, from the security side of it all, in terms of implementing some of these guidelines and some of the changes and what you have put in place. What have you also ensured to address this particular menace? Because these things happen closer to home. It is somebody you know. These are partners, boyfriends, husbands, and former partners that you may have interacted. How do you try and weigh between that and allowing people into your various homes?
Okay. First of all, it's so unfortunate that these incidents are happening with people, most of them are happening with people that are close to us. And I do not understand at what point that ladies, not about Airbnb only, about the women involved and the men involved, they know how to draw the line. These are people they spend the rest of most of their time with, some the rest of their time with, and we do not understand at what point they decide to do these kind of things. For Airbnb, it has just been abused as a place where people want to do crime and not be caught. It's just that we appreciate that the government is also trying to do something about getting these people and actually making them pay for what they have done. But I want every part, not just the Airbnb, happening in other places. We had 152 cases of femicides, and we did not hear any from Airbnbs. They may have happened, but we need to understand as ladies and as young women where to draw the line, how to be aware of our surroundings. About Airbnb and how it runs, we run our Airbnb in a more corporate level, other than the people who just do this for business. They open a house because they need money and to pay a few things here and there. Running from a corporate level, it's a bit different, and we go through cases, but not as extreme as this, because we do take details of each and all of our clients, and we make sure we did not implement CCTV before the government directives because of our clients' privacy. But there was emergency contact. If you needed anything, you will call us. And even if most of our clients are also coming from other parts of the world, so they can call us if they need the best restaurants to eat from, the best. So we had a contact line where it's emergency, and you can also inquire anything you need, and where we recommend to you the best places to visit, shop, and things like that. And for people who are running this, especially on day-to-day basis, it's becoming very hard to track, because we have 30 days in a month. And what if you have 30 clients in the same month if you're doing on daily business? I'm sure this should be implemented, especially in the properties that we run these Airbnbs, because it's going to be so hard to implement security on a particular house because it's running an Airbnb. That means the security of the residents is not there. So we have to implement these security measures in this building, so that if you get into an apartment and it has 26 units, the people at the security, the guests, should know where you're going, should take your details. If you got there with your car, let them get your car details. If you go there with, yes, who are you going to? Who are you going to visit? Is it a family member? Is it official? Are you dropping something? Even if it's an Uber drive that has brought you food, we should get those records, because if anything gets to happen in between the 30 minutes, the 20 minutes, the 10 minutes that delivery was done, we'll need to hold someone accountable. So it should not just be in the Airbnbs. All the properties that allow the Airbnb business, the commercial business in the apartments, they should take caution. They should make sure they have proper security system from the gate, not just at the door of the Airbnb house. Yes.
Okay. Let me hand it over to Daktari. Daktari, we're talking about another issue that has been touted as one of the contributing factors to such incidences we're witnessing, like, for example, peer pressure, especially among students. Given that you come from this vast institution called Kenyatta University, how do you go about lecturing some of these students and trying to give them advice so that they do not find themselves in a precarious situation such as this one?
Thank you, Abdi Aziz. As I said earlier, that we have a Directorate of Wellness that deals with these issues. And again, I say that we are in, the Directorate is in conjunction with the peer, the Student Council, where we have the peer counselors that assist these students in assisting, in training them on how to avoid such traps. As we teach also in the university, we do offer guidance and counseling in class. We do talk to our students that these are don'ts and do's. We also have rules that govern the students in our universities. Apart from that, we have mentorship programs whereby we have lecturers mentoring some students. So as you say that there is peer pressure, it is true. The issue again of the mental issue is at play here. The psychological issues comes in. For example, romantic jealousy comes in, whereby a girl is having a boyfriend, and then all of a sudden changes the boyfriend. So the earlier or the first boyfriend undergoes what we call romantic jealousy, and now project the same to the girl. So the girl ends up being killed by the first boyfriend because of what we call romantic jealousy. And that has been cited by research as the main cause of femicide: romantic jealousy and infidelity. And what we normally encourage our students is that they should stick to one partner. We may not resist them, we may not refuse them to have partners, but we normally encourage them to stick to one partner. So romantic jealousy here comes in. And you remember the case in Eldoret whereby a boy killed a student in Moi University. That was a romantic jealousy. Another thing is that we normally encourage our girls or our in the university to, let me say, to be contented with what they have in terms of pocket money or money. Because most of them go outside the university and do other things that they may be able to get money. That is sponsors. And they end up in Airbnb, as Madam has said here. And in case of anything, men normally take advantage of that. So, we normally encourage them to be contented with what they have. Also for men, we normally encourage them to have one partner as the second priority. But the first priority is to major in studies. Other things will come later. We need also to have our politicians engaging public in public education, whereby they can teach people in their public barazas on this issue of femicide, so that they don't just wait until this happens and then they come out and condemn. We need to come out. And the last one is that we need to avoid trivializing the issue. In this sense, when a lady is killed, people trivialize and say that amekula fair. She has eaten fair. And when a man is killed, they say he succumbed on the line of duty. So we need to trivialize those things and really condemn the femicide and the issue.
Let me go to Jules. Jules, given that it is a very precarious situation, you've just clearly stated that this happens close to home. And of course, the members under your firm, the members who work in that particular establishment, how do they, it's like a dilemma. You can't stop somebody's boyfriend, husband, or a family member from visiting them. How do you go about it now?
Yeah, there's a few things that I would like to add to that. Also coming back to what was said earlier in the Airbnb, there's quite a big misunderstanding that if you are, for instance, in a big, if you are living in a big apartment complex and you think there's one guard at the gate, now everybody in that compound is safe. It can't be like that. That's one thing. And I do agree, CCTV and a proper ID, etc., it's going to help. Because if you have the feeling you're watched or monitored, then at least you think twice. At least that's what we hope. But think about, indeed, now in this big complex there is an apartment building, there is an apartment, a specific apartment. So how should you be able to protect yourself there? And just recently, actually, we introduced home security systems that are wireless. Actually, it's your phone, your smartphone is helping you. There is a panic button on your phone, which will help, of course, in case you feel within a certain environment, you feel already threatened or if things go out of hand. At least you have another opportunity to use that. But coming back to your other question is, yes, if our guards are in a very specific assignment, and indeed within the family there is a fight. First of all, we have trained our guards to raise this. They are in contact with the company, so they would for sure communicate with our control room and try to monitor as far as you can what's going on. Is it just shouting to each other, or is it something becoming more violent? At the moment it becomes more violent, then for sure the alarm will go off and we will come, and usually if it's an alarm and response service, we have police on board, so we would bring immediately police to the place and address this. But quite often, if it's within the families, something is going on for longer, and that's where we want our guards to be very alert on this and to raise that. And indeed, we had situations where, our guards became between the husband and the wife, and usually, indeed. The first reaction is to protect the wife, the woman, either by sending the husband away, or at least make sure that there is a moment, a break, that they don't, are able to physically even meet at that point in time. But those are very complicated issues indeed, because indeed, who is the client? It's the family is the client, and you have to protect the family, and if need be, against each other. But it's quite tough. But also there, particularly in the home situations, if you have a proper home security installation with CCTV, with alarm buttons, if need be, you can use it very fast, very quickly. Again, it's not a guarantee, because in the home environment it is even more tough. But for sure, it's better than just doing nothing. And I think that is what's happening today too much. We're shying away. We're not tackling it. And indeed, it's not only Airbnb. It's throughout. And I think awareness is the biggest issue. Is don't take it light. If you feel an aggressive situation occurs, that's the moment to raise all the flags, because you don't know. And unfortunately, some of the situations are, oh, he was such a lovely and such a friendly man. That's not the criteria, It's and I think it's very difficult, but women should also be protected, but also be alert. Violence within the family is not normal. It's really not normal. And I know there are many different aspects to this, but I would definitely want to make that clear and stand up for that.
And of course, Amanda, given that you're also a young woman, as much as you're an entrepreneur at the end of the day, according to a UN report, 38.5% of girls and women aged between 15 to 49 in Kenya have experienced physical violence. And of course, you've just talked about an incident that you had witnessed. If you could tell us, without even disclosing the name or the date or where it happened, you have seen it. So how did you handle that particular situation? And as well as in terms of creating creating awareness. We've just heard from Mr. Jules and Dr. They're talking about creation of awareness. So how do you, as an Airbnb representative, create that particular awareness? And then finally, do you have mechanisms that are put in place, especially where if I come to your Airbnb today, I can leave an emergency contact so that you can get in touch to a family member or any other person?
Okay. The kind of incidents we get from the corporate level, it's people not being able to pay for their stay, people not being able to meet their deadlines. They're supposed to leave by fast and they decide to extend and they speak late. Those are the kind of things we face. Who they bring to the house, normally it's not. We get the records, yes, but we do not get into. But we have not experienced violence to the extent of what we're seeing right now. And I think also because we have taken our business corporate and we do mostly long term, that means 30-day minimum, so it keeps a lot of mediocres away. And our company deals mostly with corporate hosting, where we provide for you a office space so that you can do your work, because we're looking at from when the Airbnb was started in 2008, it has changed from air, mattress and breakfast to people choosing their niche on what they want to do. And when you look at Airbnb, and the settings of Airbnb was to better family movements. It's just that people are misusing it at this moment because it has everything your home has, so it's supposed to enable you to be able to move without the hassle of thinking, oh, I'll be in a hotel, I'll not be able to cater for 3 people, especially lunch every day, supper every day. So it's to better family movement. And people misusing this to do this kind of work, I feel like we should stop, especially the media, focusing on this kind of disturbing images. And we want to hear from police, the people at the DCI. We want these people interrogated to know what are they going through psychologically, because yes, we need to give awareness outside there, but what kind of awareness are you giving if you do not know what kind of people to warn our girls against? Because if we have a pattern of all the serial killers that have been there, and we know these are the 5 major things these people go through, then when you go out there, I tell a lady, do not be in the same room with a guy showing these kind of signs. The people who call you 100 times and they'll not stop until you pick, you do not even dare. We want facts because we want to raise awareness, but we can't raise from blanks. We want to hear from facts. So you've done this investigation. 80 to 100% are going through this kind of mental disturbance. These people are showing signs of this kind of disability in their mind. We want to be able to go outside there and call girls and tell them this is what is happening. So do not accept this and that from experience and from facts. Because we can go there and tell girls, you know, we are fighting against gender violence, but gender violence is gender violence until it happens to you, because most of these people are lovers, and sometimes people cannot differentiate when they're being violently manipulated, especially in relationships. I will wish people in those sectors of relationship counselors and those students, and we can also, I remember when we were doing school and when we were doing secondary, the biggest motivation was, if you do not study hard, you cannot go to UON, the biggest universities. How about we normalize showing these people at the universities that there are opportunities out here? How about companies showing that we will employ you as an, instead of, because these people are looking for money, yes, but what do they die and living? Bags, clothes, things that do not even help their families. We want the government to create opportunities, because that's the biggest motivation for university students to actually be out there. I've studied this because we want this to be especially in awareness in university, like Dr. has said, when you're motivating them about partners, can we hear this conversation of, in this kind of course, you'll be hired by the best companies and we'll make this possible if you study, if you get your good grades. We want to hear this kind of conversation because those are the biggest motivation for especially young girls and boys.
Okay, Amanda, let me go to Daktari now. Daktari, as you respond to those issues that have been raised by Mr. Jules and Amanda as well, we're also talking about our curriculum. Has our curriculum addressed such kind of issues so that it can better prepare not just the women who are studying in these various institutions, but also the men?
Thank you, Abdulaziz. Let me just start by correcting Madam Kimani here. That UN is not the biggest university. It is Kenyatta University. The current CBC or the current curriculum is going to address some of these issues because there is the education, the sexual education. So it will come in handy in addressing the same. And in actually, from childhood, children will be taught on how to see other genders, the issues of gender stereotype, to see other genders as equal being. Another thing is that we should be able to create awareness, proper communication in the families. The husband and wife should have proper communication. And I want to say this, that there is this thing, we need to avoid this. In marriage, we are one. But in terms of phones, we are two. So I want to appeal to all Kenyans. Simu ya mama, ikuwe ya mama. Simu ya baba, ikuwe ya baba. Because this is the main cause of this femicide. Because the moment you see a message from somebody and then talking about honey, I remember one day, let me say this, Abdulaziz, that there is a guy who normally brings me honey from Baringo. One day he wrote to me that the honey for this week will be so sweet. So when my wife saw that honey for this week will be so sweet, and then she could not even imagine. And when I tried to explain that this is the real honey, asali inatoka Baringo, ilikuwa vita. So if we can be able to avoid this, the better. Number two, proper vetting of upcoming religious
institutions. As a counselor yourself, what do you do in that situation? Do you counsel the wife and counsel yourself?
In that situation, I had to walk away.
Yes.
And that is the best thing. Because if we confront one another, if I argue, and our position is that this is the real honey, this is our wife, and then it will become a chaos. So the best for a man is to walk away, go for a walk, go for 2 days. You can go and greet your grandmother, so that things will cool down. The other point is that we need to overcome hiding and counseling in church, in various institutions. Even new media people, you need to bring out a program of guiding and counseling, and bring out champions of non-gender violence, on how people were able to deal with gender-based violence. Don't bring survivors. Let's bring champions who did not engage in violence. Let's listen from them. The last one is raising voices from various institutions, like FIDA. We need them to raise voices, like KEOPA, Kenya Parliamentary Women Association. Let them raise voices. Let them educate people. And the last one is we need to empower our women. We need to empower our women and our girls. Let the girls stay in school. Let the women be empowered economically. Let's give cash support to our women. And the last one, we need to include women in decision making. We need to include our women in decision making. Thank you.
And of course, as we're entering the final leg of our discussions, let me start with Mr. Jules. As you also wind up in your final remarks, I'll just give you each 2 minutes at least to finalize on this particular matter. What should we expect as a country, given that we have seen even the hashtag that is currently trending online is for these cases to even be considered as a national disaster? And given that your expertise in the security sector, would you consider this as a security lapse?
Yes, thank you. I think what you're doing, even with today's shows, but there's a lot of publicity in the media, which I think is very good, because that is going to help. We should have these discussions. We should catch up. Indeed, in the security industry, look at the certified companies, be very keen on that, because that's what we stand for. For instance, at SGA, we are ISO 18788 certified. That is not about high-end security only, but it's also about human rights, the society, the communities. Is much broader than putting a person at the gate or an alarm system itself. It's much broader than that, and I think that is absolutely what we need to look at. It's not an individual issue, it's not a security company issue, it's not an Airbnb issue, it's not a university issue, something we need to address all together. And I strongly believe that if we catch up, if we continue these discussions, we engage, and as the previous panel said, it's not a women's issue, it's not a ladies' issue or a youngster issue, it's a society issue, the community. We all have to take our responsibility, first of all, by accepting what's going on as a fact, not accepting the results of it, but this is what's going on. Let's deal with it, let's not shy away, let's put it on the table, tackle these issues, and do from each of the angles what we can to promote and to create that awareness. But above all, one comment on the Airbnb. I think you could create more awareness in terms of the security environment of a certain place. Because if I go to a hotel, the hotel takes care of the security environment in that place. And I think Airbnb could, for instance, on the website, make a connotation, this place is secured by a certified security company, for instance. That is a tip that I would like to give.
Okay, thank you so much. Amanda, your final remarks, kindly keep it short.
Okay, thank you. We will definitely try our best. And I wish to just say, as we're empowering our girls, let's also empower our boys. Let them know they can handle their emotions as we're empowering, because I feel like also women, we have been empowered, and our men feel inferior in a way. So as we empower our ladies on how to take cautions, awareness, let's also empower our boys and men how to deal with the emotions, how to deal with things that disturb them. They do not have to put it on other people, on the next person. And as we're closing, it's Airbnb is a business like any other, but I will urge my fellow hosts that we try to run this from a professional level, where it's not just the money. We need to make sure security of the people we're hosting is key. So let's just come together and decide, this is what we are doing. Yes, we are going to implement all the directives that we have been given, but it doesn't end there. We need them to know that our clients are, yes, you'll be watched, but what are we doing with this CCTV footage? Let also our clients understand that this is not going to be displayed anywhere. It's for security purposes only.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Daktari, we run the risk of being run out of air. Kindly keep it short.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity to come and discuss this topic. The last one is that family is the basic unit of our society. Let's have family meetings. If we can be able to train our children, our boys and girls, on contemporary issues as a family, it will come to the society and then the community and then Kenya. So let's have family meetings and let's talk about gender-based violence. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That is Dr. Benjamin Koskei, a senior lecturer at the Kenyatta University. Thank you so much, Doc, for making time for us. Also, Amanda Kimani, the Chief Executive Officer, who is the CEO of Lux Living, an Airbnb representative. Thank you for making time for us. And finally, our senior Jules Delahaji, the Chief Executive Officer of SGA Security. Those are the measures that have been put in place by these key stakeholders from institutions, security firms, as well as Airbnbs, which are being represented by Amanda here and other Airbnbs representatives out there. Those are the measures that were given by the government. And of course, given that we have come to the end of our show this particular morning, I want to hand it over back to my colleague, who is Khalid, who will be joining you in just a few in Kurunzi. But I want to take you live to the Kenyatta International Convention Center. You do know about the affordable housing project. In Article 188 of the Constitution mandates and obligates the Parliament to facilitate a public participation and involvement in its legislative business. In line with this, the National Assembly of Housing Committee is currently holding public hearings on the Housing Bill of 2023 at the Kenyatta International Convention Center.